Listen up, get ready, I'm not gonna take no more. There's a revolution, a revelation going on in my soul. Buckle up, get ready, we're not gonna sit back.
Welcome back to more Live from the Heartland for the week of February 11th. And I've talked Katy Hogan into sticking around. And we're going to bring on our friend Don Rose now, who has predicted every election correctly except that one. I've repeated this back in 2016 that we all missed on. Good afternoon to you, Don.
How are you?
We're good. How are you, Kate? You still good?
I'm still good. Hi, nice to see you, Don.
I haven't seen you in a long time. Good to see you.
Yeah.
So I assume that both of you watched the State of the Union address by our President Biden. And what, Don, was your impression of the speech in general, and any particular highlights or specifics you want to bring to our attention?
Well, first of all, I think it was, there were not a lot of surprises in the context, but it was delivered very energetically, much more energetically, and at points slightly combatively, which I think was very good. Overall, he brought up his forthcoming slogan for his campaign without exactly saying so, like, let's finish the job. He hit on touchy issues like abortion. We weren't sure whether he was going to do that. And I think the most notable thing was the very clever way he handled the heckling. When he said that the Republicans want to end Medicare and other benefits, Medicaid, what have you, he got a lot of, hey, no, boo, boo, not so, not so. And he said, well, a lot of you do. You've all said it. No. Comes the chorus in the back. He says, well, that's good. You don't want to do it. So you're not going to end Medicaid. You're not going to put that on the table. You're not going to put Social Security on the table. That's terrific. Give yourselves a great big hand. So it was
brilliant. It was brilliant.
Yeah, it was in a way more than I expected from him, but it was just terrific.
And Don, it right before that, I thought brilliant turnaround of things when he, as you said, he said, "Oh, good. So I see we agree. Social Security, Medicaid is off the table. Medicare is off the table." But in addition to that, I get this feeling more and more when I watch our SOTU and other. Are we getting more like the British Parliament, where people just yell freely at one another?
Well, this is a continuing degeneration for the State of the Union speech. It was known for its decorum up to the Obama, I forget whether it was second or third, a speech where somebody yelled out, you lie, some obscure congressman who, had his moment of glory there. And that was the first anybody knew about. I think, the Republicans themselves were confounded. Of course, that was a different kind of Republican leadership and different kind of Republican Party at that time. So we did not know that was going to start to set a trend. I think we haven't quite reached the point where we're yelling back and forth the way the British do when they're having their parliamentary meetings, which I kind of like that.
Let me share a quote with you both that I got from I think Charlie Meyerson sent something to Tom Clark, and Tom sent it to us. It says Rex Huppke, Huppke of USA Today. He said he's talking about the Republicans last night. He says that Biden they ran at Biden. They ran at him like a pack of lemmings, and with a wink and a grin, he politely directed them to the cliff.
Well, It was wonderful, and it's hard to say. Maybe they had this all planned out. It seemed, I guess they could count on some commentary, yelling or whatever on the issue of whether they're going to cut off Medicare. So it could have been planned out, but it looked perfectly spontaneous. And even if it was planned out, that's great. At least they know what they're dealing with. And this is the kind of thing I associate, frankly, with Ron Klain, who unfortunately is leaving as chief of staff. I have more respect for him than anybody in that whole damn administration. And I think it's too bad he's leaving. But he's the one who has kept Biden looking as vital as he can and generally performing well. There's just, he does have still a few minor infirmities, which are always exaggerated by the other side. But I'm sure it was Klain who got Biden away from having his head down when he's speaking and all this kind of thing. So I hope the new guy can keep him, about whom I don't really know very much, can keep things on the same keel. He's been very, very well advised, and he's kept everything shipshape. I think he's only lost one and maybe a second very recently during the whole 2 years that he's served thus far. So, the administration looks good, and obviously.
Do you think he's moved more to the left? I saw that somewhere. Do you think that Biden has moved to the left, and
Yes.
where he's strong and where he's not as good on things?
Yeah, I know. I think he's had a more progressive, put it this way, whether he himself has moved or whether he feels the time is right. He has a more progressive administration and laid out proposals than he campaigned on. He did campaign as a more, I can't say a moderate, but a more middle of the road guy, and has adopted, the hero here in a way, short of a couple of items, is Bernie. And, Bernie has inculcated his program of 4 and 8 years ago into the mainstream. And so, yeah, Biden is certainly behaving more that way. He has done some bad acts in the past, particularly around Clarence Thomas and so on. But without going back to that, so he's clearly governing as a progressive, not as a leftist by any means, but certainly as a progressive, which we could not be sure about when we elected him.
Can I ask a question, Michael?
You're up.
Don, I watched with some neighbors of mine last night. I watched the State of the Union with neighbors over at somebody else's house, which I was very grateful to be watching it with others and for the back and forth that allows. They're all at least 20 years younger than me and maybe more. And they were basically at the end of it saying, please don't run again. Please don't run again. And I said, I'm afraid he's running. And they have this pretty ageist, view, which I've heard in a lot of quarters right now about that people should just move along. People like Nancy Pelosi and Biden and a number of other aged folks. What do you say to that? Do you have any answer to that? Is it automatic that people should move on, or?
First of all, my opinion is that he's running again until he's not. That he is going to be appraising the situation every 6 months and will be making his decisions based on the time and place and what is going on in the world and where his stand is. I don't believe if people are saying that they should have a retirement age, they should age out. I don't think that that's a particularly useful idea. It may be that they feel protective. They just don't, or whether they're trying to protect him from what will certainly in the next were he to be elected in the next year or two, or in the next 2 years, were he to be running, he would be under all kinds of attacks. Every time he hiccuped, they would call it, a mental infirmity, and people don't want to see that happening. I don't think. So there are people who want to protect him. There are people who feel that he would be a sure loser. If that's that's quite possible. The sad thing is the public does not know about, for one reason, or does not appreciate all that he's done. And to have numbers as bad as they are, and as many people not realizing all that he's done or anything he's done in a way, is just a shame. And if it goes out, if he can't sell his accomplishments in the next year, he probably shouldn't run, because people have, it's upside down for sure. But people are frankly ignorant, and it's partly the way things are today with communications, and it's partly the messaging that has failed in the White House.
Let me say that as a guy who's a little older than Biden, I watch him walk, and I'm rooting for him, because I know how sometimes you got the stride, and other times it's like, oh, yeah, how many more years can I hold out? And, so let me just ask this of both of you: who might, if say Biden decides that he really, you start aging a little faster as you get a little older, and if he decides not to run, who would we want to run? Who would be a likely candidate? The only person I could think of that I really liked was this Governor Bashir, I think his name, in Kentucky. And I don't think he's running yet, but I found him an interesting guy. Do either of you have someone out there who you think would be a really good candidate?
Well, I've got a personal favorite, and that's Jamie Raskin. I think he's probably the smartest guy in the Congress, meaning no offense to people like Schiff. I think Schiff would be good, except that he's probably, as I hear, quite a hate symbol. There are a lot of good people there. And I think we'd have to winnow them down. We want to see, first of all, who is really interested in running. There's a lot of interesting guys there. Sheldon Whitehouse, the congressman, the senator.
Yeah, he'd be good.
Elizabeth Warren comes to mind. I'd like to see women in general uplifted as possibilities for president. It's time we covered that one. Leapt over that one, if you will. I have no problem with the people mentioned. I'm interested in that Bashir guy too. Our politics are very strained, and I would be inclined to reelect Biden if I didn't have a strong enough indication from any of the others running. Biden wasn't my choice last time, but I worked my tail off for him at the end. I would say Bernie, because he seems, eternal. But I also do like that John said Bernie's ideas have been inculcated into the scene, and that's the best thing we could hope for, I guess.
I got one other thing I'd like to ask you about, and it is shifting from the global, or at least the national, to the local. What's your and I hope we have you back next week, which will be just before the election here in Chicago. But what is your take on the mayoral race right now? Last time you were on, you said you thought it would be probably Chewy and Vallis in a runoff. Where are you at on that whole thing today?
Well, things haven't changed that much. A couple of polls have come out that have been very scattered. One or two polls suggested that Chewy had been hurt a great deal, but a very well-respected professional poll, independent, came out this morning in the Sun-Times, sponsored by the Sun-Times and BEZ and Telemundo, that shows Chewy slightly ahead of Vallis and Vallis slightly ahead of Laurie, which, although all within the margin of error, tells me one thing for sure, and that I was concerned about, that for all the bashing she has given him, Chewy has been taken down a little bit, but not enough to put him to threaten them out of the game. It's a three-way race with the odds still favoring Chewy and Vallis in the runoff. It could turn out, differently. Some events could change. We don't know what event might occur. Who can predict, especially about the future, as they say. I think that's about where it is, but it is close. Yeah, Chewy is the first one to come up with a property tax reduction or a property tax payback, a benefit there, which I think could be a clincher for him. He's the only one who's come out with that so far. Everybody's against crime. Everybody's got a crime program. The differences among them are very hard to distinguish. And so I think he's got another good leg to run on now. And so my basic estimation is the same as it was last time we spoke, which is a runoff between Chewy and Vallis. And this poll shows that Chewy beats him pretty substantially.
Let me ask, one of the things that about Chewy is he's been running these, and a lot of people have been running these ads about the police, more police, but not a lot of talk about the police, district councils that we're having elections for. Any comment on that? Is it something they don't want to touch? But I mean, Chewy, I would have expected to be more supportive of it. And some of his ads are just, more police.
Well, there's been a complete failure on the part of the media and the candidates to bring that issue up at all. I think there was something in the Trib today or yesterday that was the first real mention of people running. And even the people who tried to organize it and advocate for it before the city council have done virtually nothing to tell us anything about the candidates who are running. I can't tell you in my own ward or my own district, it's beyond the ward, who the stronger advocates are. So I think that's just a failure on all parts. It simply has not made any political impact one way or the other, in absentia or otherwise.
Don Rose, we're going to have you on again next week, I think. We'll see if the mayoral race has changed.